saw Kellen Moore run a little bit of scheme with them. They get a little bit more downhill in their run game. They utilize him as a pass catcher. 2,000 yards, 2,000 all-purpose yards if he plays all 17 games for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And you were the one who actually sent me that. I mean, during Hard Knocks, you were like, did you see John Mara basically saying, so that
he forecasted his worst nightmare because he literally looked at Joe Schoen and said, okay, I trust you guys, but I'm going to have a hard time sleeping if we please don't let him go to the Eagles like that. And that's literally what happened. And they made their division rival better. And unfortunately, they made themselves worse. Now, I've seen people tweet, Giants fans tweeting, Saquon would not have looked like that in our offense. I get that, but Saquon carried a lot in your offense. And now he goes to an Eagles team that is deeper, tougher, more physical, and he's allowed to do more things, and he sets everybody else up.
Those Giant fans are not making the point they think they're making. Okay. Let's be very
Can I say
no doubt.
Yeah.
Joe Schoen, he should feel ashamed today to let Saquon walk out of the door. Lord have mercy, ashamed.
It is an interesting question. As a defensive player, if you're lining up, so this week it's Atlanta. If you're going up against this team, and you got AJ over there, you got Devontae over there, you got Saquon back there, and oh, by the way, Jalen can run it too. What are you going in thinking, this is the number one thing we take away?
We talked about the 49ers when they added Christian McCaffrey. With all of those weapons around, we saw his impact. With Saquon, it's the same thing. We have to be able to stop the run before we can worry about the receivers on the outside. To your point, Kmart, the Giants were celebrating 100 years on Friday night in the stadium. It was amazing, I'm hearing. Saquon was in Brazil just scoring 3 touchdowns. You got to be sick as you're watching that.
Wow, as a Giants fan, the quarterback looked bad, bad interceptions, the same ones he threw in the offseason, training camp, preseason, in the game. Oh, Lord, the uniforms were ugly.
Yeah, they were
Saquon scored 3 touchdowns. Oh, Joe Schoen, you should be ashamed.
They were dressed as the Montreal Canadiens. In the meantime, all is not totally rosy with the Eagles coming out of that game.
Okay, they're going to talk about Jalen Hurts, which I'm going to do in a different video. I want to just focus on Saquon Barkley, even though they didn't even answer the question of are they the biggest threat to the 49ers. I'm just going to say the biggest, they're just, are they a threat to in the NFL, right? Like, I don't think we need to just isolate the 49ers. I think that's kind of silly at this point. I do think the 49ers are going to be another top team, but I don't think we have to just say the 49ers. I don't know why it has to be limited to that. But yes, of course, Saquon Barkley makes any team better. That's obvious. Okay? And when you have as many weapons, and when you have the quarterback and either the offensive head coach or OC, in this situation, Kellen Moore, the OC, yes, Saquon Barkley is going to make your team a significantly bigger or biggest threat. Of course. And when they were saying, right, a defense is going to say, what do we do? Who do we have to stop? It most likely will be Saquon, right? That most likely will be the focal point because he's technically the most versatile player, right? He can catch, he can run, he can block, right? He could just do everything. So containing Saquon, if you had to order priorities, most likely will be number one. And that's going to take a ton of time, energy, and resources, not only in the week leading up to the game, but as well as obviously during the game. And what does that do? That opens up for Jalen Hurts. That opens up for A.J. Brown, Devontae, Goddard, Dotson. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. That's the beauty. And it's like, well, hey, we're not going to put all our focus on Saquon. Well, then Saquon is going to eat. He's going to feast. He's going to get 100+ yards, right? Like multiple touchdowns. That's the beauty. That is the beauty. That is what Christian McCaffrey did for the 49ers. No question about it. Not to mention Shanahan is great at the run game, but Christian McCaffrey obviously is so versatile and does so much for that team. So if you need to see what a dynamic running back can do for a team, look no further than Christian McCaffrey. And so that's what Saquon can do. There was all this talk that Saquon wasn't going to have a big impact on the Eagles, right? Especially coming from famously Nick Wright, from First Things First. And of course, that was just always insane. He said Saquon's not really that much of an upgrade from who they had in running back in previous years, which is insane. He pretty much said that Saquon Barkley only had one good year, and that was his rookie year with New York. And it's like, you're gonna struggle when your team is bad, when your quarterback is bad, when you're a running back and you have no offensive line, when there's no other weapons, and defenses can be like, hey, we just need to contain Saquon Barkley and that's it, because there is no AJ Brown, there is no Jalen Hurts, there is no Devontae, there is no Dallas Goedert, there is no one else. It is literally just Saquon Barkley. Yeah, you're gonna get banged up, you're gonna not maybe look as good because it's all hands on deck. And it's just funny that as soon as Saquon got to Philly, a lot of people started being like, well, Saquon Barkley is actually not that good. And it's like, okay, sure. So, yes, I think what Saquon does is he helps make the Eagles a more complete team, a more high-powered team, a scarier team, a team that you start to lose sleep over defensively because you're just like, man, there is so much to deal with here. And if you do take away a weapon, if A.J. Brown is not playing as well, if A.J. Brown goes down for a game or two, gets banged up, or Devontae, there's just so much firepower. There's so many weapons, which we've seen not only with the 49ers, which is why it is kind of a perfect example to have the threat to the 49ers, because the 49ers have the similar situation. If Christian McCaffrey doesn't play for a game, if Ayuk doesn't play for a game, Debo, Kittle, whoever, there's just enough firepower that they can make do, that they can get it done. And that's also the benefit of adding another weapon like Saquon and Dotson for that matter. You just start to collect weapons, and it just is awesome. It makes such a significant difference. And so I think they should have a more commanding, if the Eagles are who a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but some people believe them to be a top team in the NFL. I think the Falcons are actually a pretty good team, although they might be tricking me with that one. That wasn't the best game against the Steelers, quite frankly, but it's going to be interesting to see. But even if they are a good team and a better team than they proved against the Steelers, the Eagles should look in command during out this game, right? You should, if the Eagles are truly a top team in the NFL, it should almost feel like the Falcons just never had a chance. Maybe again, it doesn't have to be a 45-0 game. It doesn't have to be a game like the Saints versus the Panthers, but it should feel like, okay, the Falcons are not on the level of the Eagles, right? Saquon should have another field day. AJ should eat. I mean, everyone should eat, theoretically. Minimal mistakes from Jalen Hurts, which is why I'm going to talk about that in the next video, because the next video, I haven't seen it, but I saw the title where it was like, what, does Jalen Hurts need to improve, or something about what does Jalen Hurts need to do. He needs to make better decision making. And so I think that's its own long conversation that I'm just going to use in a separate video. I feel like that's probably a little bit easier to not make this like a 30-minute video. But yeah, it is funny to see people kind of slowly start to come around on Saquon Barkley. And yeah, the Giants were celebrating their 100th year, and Saquon Barkley was celebrating 100+ scrimmage yards, 3 touchdowns, and Offensive Player of the Week. That's what he was celebrating, and he could not be happier. He finally has a team. He finally has a home. And right, the Giants owner knew, I don't want him to go to the Eagles. And people thought, oh, they don't want him to go to the Eagles because he doesn't want him to lose Saquon, and he doesn't want them to lose them to a rival like the Eagles. And it goes deeper than that. It's because he knows intimately, he's not a dumb person, intimately, how highly run the Philadelphia Eagles are. He knows that they are an incredibly highly run franchise, that they've been incredibly successful over the last 20+ years or so, that players typically look better with Philly than worse, that Philly tends to get the best out of those players and takes care of them and is able to surround them with other pieces, other weapons, other coaches. And so, yeah, that was going to make him sick to his stomach, and his worst fears truly did come true. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think Saquon Barkley makes the Eagles the biggest threat, I guess, to the 49ers or any other team, therefore? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.